Former Cowboy Daryl Johnston, Fox Sports analyst, our guest tonight. We're going to talk some football, but we want to discuss an important benefit coming up tomorrow night at Jesuit High School in Dallas. Wounded Warriors against some all-time Cowboy greats. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great event. Would love for everybody to come out and support our Wounded Warriors. We've got Memorial Day weekend coming up. Really ties in great. The Warriors are undefeated too, 10-0. So they've played well. This is something that moves across the country. I think the last game they played was at Super Bowl out in Arizona. So we're going to have Roger Staubach, Chad Hennings, a great potential defensive line with Tony Tolbert, Leon Lett, and Charles Haley all getting back together. Nate Newton, Drew Pearson. So, some great old Cowboy names, some great heroes, American heroes who have sacrificed for our freedoms and our liberties here in our country. And it's going to be a great event. I'm looking forward to it. It's one of those ones where somebody asks you about it, and you're like, absolutely, just tell me when and where, and I'm going to be there.
And if you don't think Roger's going to take this seriously, you got another thing coming, right?
I have played with Roger at other events, and I made sure that I was on Roger's team. Right. And Roger was smart too. He went to the Warrior side, so I'll be playing with Roger on the Wounded Warrior side.
And you can go to fox4news.com for details on how you can get involved and support this effort. Let's talk a little football. Deflategate still in the headlines. Are you surprised that the Patriots owner Robert Kraft has decided not to fight the fine or the loss of draft picks anymore?
No, I don't think he should have fought that anyways. I think that there's enough information there. If you're smart enough to connect dots, I think you see that this is definitely something that was intentionally done. It was manipulated by Tom Brady. Every quarterback that has voiced their opinion on this says there's absolutely no way that anybody is going to touch a football without the quarterback say so. One of the greatest things that I've seen on this whole story is Shannon Sharp's take on it. And he's got a thing at shannonsharp.com. I think it's called Mouthing Off. And he talks about the relationship of the equipment manager to the player. And that's from Shannon's perspective as a very high-profile tight end. Okay, magnify that times 10 when you're talking about Tom Brady, the quarterback. It's very eye-opening for people to understand that relationship and how important and how fortunate those gentlemen feel to have that job. So I think when you see that, and then you see all the other information that's out there, the fact that Tom never released his phone as part of the investigation, right. I just think there's too many things there that lead you down the path that, yes, this absolutely happened. He was a part of it. You've got the one guy who's in charge of the officials' locker room, the other guy who's the assistant team manager. It makes too much sense to get to that point. So I think the punishment is fair. You're talking about the integrity of the game. You know, the other big stories over the last year and a half in the NFL have all involved criminal activity, but this goes to the heart of the integrity of the game, and that's the commissioner's responsibility, is to uphold that. So I agree with the punishment. I think you put the Patriots in a position where it's going to be hard for them to compete, and without Tom Brady in the lineup for the first 4 games, that's exactly what they've done.
You think it's fair, assuming Goodell goes ahead and hears the appeal, and all indications are that he will, do you think it's fair that he's the guy to hear the appeal? No.
Absolutely not. That's the one problem I have with this. The Adrian Peterson situation, when Harold Henderson was the person who was hearing that appeal. You know, Harold Henderson has ties back to the NFL and to upper management. You know, he was somebody that was working with the NFL when I was playing. So this is even one step further. You know, there's got to be a way to come up with a concept, a provision put in place when we get into these situations where there is a truly neutral counsel or individual that will hear these cases and rule on that. But I think that this one, the information is there. It doesn't really matter. And Mr. Wells has come out and said if this was to go to a court of law, I'm very, very confident with the information that I've uncovered that this would be a guilty verdict.
Moving to the Cowboys now, Jerry Jones feels that the running game can be even better this year, even though DeMarco Murray is no longer a member of this football team. Are you buying that?
Be careful with the plug-and-play mentality. That's difficult. I'm a big DeMarco Murray fan. I love the way he runs. It's a great offensive line. There's a nice change up there, too. You have Lance Dunbar, Joseph Randle. You've got good players there. Darren McFadden's in now. The potential is there, but to say that it's going to be better than the guy who led the league in rushing by 500 yards is a bold statement. And I know that everybody in the organization has been wary of saying, you know, we can just put anybody in there behind that offensive line and we'll just keep rolling. We'll see if that's the case this year. They are tremendous up front. They should maybe even be better this year. So who knows? But DeMarco adds something else to statistically, you may have matched what they did, but that emotion, that that physical style that he played with, which was a spark for the offense. There's a lot more that goes into a football player than just his statistics. And Kevin Gogan's a great example. You know, we lost Kevin Gogan, and a lot of people would have said, well, that's not a big deal. We can replace Kevin Gogan. And he did so many other things for the organization that people weren't aware of that you can't replace a Kevin Gogan. So I think that you have to be careful when you assume that if we just take this person out and put somebody else in there, everything is going to be fine.
And you're sensitive to this because, you know, you helped Emmett gain all those yards, yet Emmett has been insulted in some ways by the implication that it was the system or just the way that offense happened to work that allowed him to become the NFL's all-time leading rusher. But the back obviously has to ultimately do it.
Absolutely. And I have people tell me all the time when I try to defend Emmett as one of the best running backs to ever play the game, they'll say if it wasn't for you in that offensive line, I don't know if he is the NFL's all-time leading rusher. You know, like, really. I mean, there's a number of games that I can take you back to when Emmett was not in the lineup and we didn't run the ball all that effectively. So, I just don't think that's fair. You learn to work together as a unit when you have consistency with that back. And one of the things that we were able to do, and especially Emmett and myself together, was to understand where his vision was, where his eyes went first. And, you know, it allowed us to move, kind of in concert, where I wasn't wasted on the front side because Emmett, by his first read, was going to go backside. You know, there are a lot of times we came out the back door together, which now puts you in a situation where if I get that one guy, you know, my guy's left over on that field, I'm taking him through into an area where there should only be one person left, which is a potential for a huge running play.
You went on the record after the Greg Hardy signing as saying that you worried about how that might affect the locker room because that's important, that kind of chemistry. When you put Hardy and Randy Gregory together, are you worried about the challenges that might be presented to some of the leaders on this team to keep this thing on the right track from a chemistry standpoint?
It will be important for Jason Witten, Tony Romo, the guys who are the designated leaders in the locker room, to make sure that everything stays the way it was. The things that I've heard about Greg Hardy are nothing but positive right now. He's working hard. I think people have been impressed by his commitment right now. He just needs to continue to work in that direction. Randy Gregory, he's just arrived. I think one of the concerns that a lot of people have is his weight and his ability to stay on the field at that size. It's a very physical game at the NFL level, and at 230, how much playing time can you get working against these big tackles that are manning that offensive line in the position that he's going to go one-on-one against? So I think that's something that he has to be really cognizant of, especially in the heat. I struggled in the heat here when we were in Austin and Wichita Falls. I would drop 20, 25 pounds coming out of training camp, and then you've got to work to get all that back by the middle of October. So there's things that he has to be aware of just because of where he's at and his ability to drop weight. He's got to be very, very careful of that, be very, very on his nutrition and his hydration.
You've been in this position where a teammate has held out or sort of held out like Dez is doing right now. Would it bother you that he's not out there doing everything with everybody else all the time, or do you understand where he's coming from?
No, I'm not a fan of this approach. I was in a situation like that. I've seen a number of my teammates be in situations like that. We always went through the off-season program. It's the most important part of the off-season, or actually the entire NFL calendar year, is that time that you spend together when there's no cameras around, nobody's watching, nobody's cheering for you, but there you are with your teammates getting better. You've got a strength coach that has 6 Super Bowl rings. You're giving up on an opportunity to be better physically going into training camp. And that's what we did. We stayed in the entire off-season program, went through all the quarterback schools. Some guys would do the off-season program, maybe not go to one of the quarterback schools. My approach was the one year that I had a contract issue, do the entire off-season the way I always did. It's going to take care of itself. Hopefully I'll miss a little bit of training camp. That was kind of the wall that we would approach. But deals got done right before training camp, and you went into camp. But I don't agree with guys not going through the entire off-season program. The ability to get stronger, faster, more explosive, the camaraderie that you build working together in the weight room, on the field, is too important. And whether it's Orlando Scandrick or Dez Bryant, I have not liked the approach that they've taken. I don't think it's the right way for the team.
Let's close with another mention of the event Thursday night at Jesuit. Cowboys alumni against the Wounded Warriors. Should be a lot of fun, huh?
Absolutely. And you can get tickets right at Postel Stadium, so you can just walk up and pay for your tickets right there. It's very easy. It's 12345 Inwood Road, so it's right down there where Inwood kind of turns in as it crosses into the toll road. So, yeah, please come out. Please come out. It's these guys are amazing. We all talk about football players and athletes and entertainers being the heroes in our country, but these are the true heroes. These guys are absolutely incredible.
Flag football game. So you're going to be able to do more than just block in this game? Might get into the end zone yourself, or what?
You know what? I may make a request that I don't block. The last time I played in a game like this, Troy put me at center, and I ended up blocking like 2 guys the entire game. I never got out. I almost got into a fight. A flag game. So yeah,
imagine you and Aikman taking a game like that seriously.
I'm going to talk to Roger and say, you got to get me on the outside.
All right, and go to fox4news.com for more information on this important event. Daryl Johnston, thanks.
Mike, thank you very much.
All right, I'm Mike Ducey, Fox 4 Sports.